when I was maybe 6. My brother was 4, and my mom asked me like, "So what do you want to become when you grow up?" And I told her that I wanted to become an eagle because my mom had told me that you can be anything you want. When I was 12, I started collecting hockey cards like everyone else, right? The difference between me and other people was that I actually never stopped. I used to spend so much time, collecting and just like putting so much value into these things. The only thing better than collecting is actually selling everything and getting rid of that. Clearing out your headspace. And last year in December, I quit my job and I went to Australia. I figured I'd be gone for 2 weeks. That ended up being 3 months. That ended up being 6 months. I did change my life by coming here, but I didn't do it out of the blue. I did it because I met this amazing, amazing woman. I found somebody that felt more like home than my real, like, physical Swedish home.
So, Victor, you're obviously an extremely caring man.
Thank
That
you.
comes from your interviews and just your general personality. Um, could you tell me the role that your parents had with your upbringing while you were living in Sweden?
I think they had a pretty big role for me. I would say that I was pretty close to both my parents. I think they saw that I was responsible, and we had a lot of conversations. And I remember being a kid, like my mom's motto was that, excuse me, she said, "You can be whatever you want to be. When you grow up, you can become whatever you want to become." And there's a story when I was maybe 6, my brother was 4, and my mom asked me like, "So what do you want to become when you grow up?" And I told her that I wanted to become an eagle. Um, because my mom had told me that you can be anything you want, and that was how my mind worked at that time. So yeah, I think that helped me a lot growing up.
Why did you want to become an eagle? Why?
I'm not sure, just the soaring, flying up high, just doing whatever you want, going wherever you want, and maybe that has affected me as a traveler in my grown-up life right now.
Yeah. So, and were your parents involved in music in any way
Not in music.
or anything? No.
No, not in music or not in journalism or anything like that either. My mom is a dentist. She was involved with my teeth when I was a kid. It wasn't always fun. And yeah, my dad has worked in the council and he's been a motivator for people that have been out of society, coming back into society, coming out of prison, and he's been helping motivating them to get back into a working life or a normal life.
Do you think that aspect of your father, where he's been caring and able to look at the other side of people, that's rubbed off on you a little bit in the way that you conduct your interviews and the way that you just are naturally as a person?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I have a lot of my dad in me, and also my dad never judge anyone. He's like, if they come here, I'm gonna teach them how to work, and he never judges anyone for their background or for where they come from or what they have done or anything like that. He looks at everyone the same, and I think I try to do that as much as I can as well. Even going into interviews, it doesn't matter who you are, you have a story, and I would love to talk to you about that story.
Yeah, and so when you were growing up, so were you a good student?
I was I passed. I I wasn't a super good student. Um, I was pretty basic, I would say. I was struggling with math a lot. I was good in English, I can tell you that. I loved English, but that could also be going back to the Eagle story. I knew that like I was always fascinated by the US. I grew up watching American movies, and that's where my English comes from. And I remember in school, my English teacher had a conversation with me and my mom, and they said, "Yeah, we want to make him speak more British English." as everyone did, that we were taught British English, and I was a bit hesitant. I said, no, I want to speak the way I speak because I just think, like growing up in Sweden, right? There's a lot of focus towards the US. And I just thought the US was the world at the time. And I wanted to speak a language that could take me, that would take me around the world, I guess.
Yeah, it's sort of strange that proper use of that the English language, that sort of goes hand in hand with journalism, I think. So,
It does, but also like the fact of having something where you can travel around the world and you can communicate, you can write, and you can get your things out of Sweden, out of my room in like anywhere in English. It's just such a good feeling.
so what was your favorite movie growing up?
My favorite movie growing up, I got two, and I can pretty much like say all the lines. But first of all, the greatest movie of all time, Dumb and Dumber.
Okay.
Absolutely Dumb and Dumber. And then combining that with Terminator 2, also one of the greatest movies of all time. And I grew up watching both of them with my brother. Um, yeah, just absolutely masterpieces, fantastic movies.
Do you and your brother have a good relationship?
Yeah, we do. He's 2 years younger than me, and we actually lived together for a couple of years as well. We have many common friends, or we got common friends. His friends became my friends, and my friends became his friends. And I think my mom has always kept the family really close. Every Sunday in Sweden, we have family dinner. Um, excuse me. So she invites my brother and his girlfriend and their kids, and I was always there as well. And every summer, my mom invited me, my brother, and all of our friends for a barbecue as well. Because growing up, living at home, you have your friends over, and my parents missed that. So every summer, they invite my closest friends, and we have a barbecue at their house.
So, what's a typical Sunday family dinner in Sweden?
A typical family dinner in Sweden is, well, it starts around 3 on a Sunday, right? My brother shows up with he's got two kids at the moment right now. One of them is 2.5. The other one is just a couple of months right now. And my mom takes care of food. Sometimes we order food from restaurants and we all eat, or my mom cooks. She's an amazing cook. And we all sit down and eat, and then we just hang out. It's a beautiful
There,
thing.
is there anything in particular that the folks in Sweden eat that say folks in America or Britain wouldn't?
Well, everything is changing food-wise, and the sad thing about Sweden, or at least my city where I come from, the only place where you can go and eat and have classical Swedish dishes, right, in my city, is IKEA.
What?
Is IKEA. IKEA is the only place you can go and have like a classic Swedish dish. I mean, you can have meatballs anywhere, but there used to be a couple of restaurants that were like full-on Swedish classic restaurants. But the only one you can depend on for Swedish meatballs, for example, is IKEA.
You're talking about the furniture store.
Exactly, exactly. Well, to be honest, like our IKEA was one of the first ones. The superstores, because my city is about an hour and a half from the city of Älmhult, where IKEA is from. Ingvar Kamprad, the guy who created IKEA, is from Älmhult. So Jönköping, my city, is very close to that place.
And wow, that just fascinates me that it's sort of like a Walmart superstore here in America, where
Yeah. Well, I used to work in hotels and stuff like that in Jönköping, right? A reception. And a lot of people ask me, where do you go for like a classic Swedish dish? But the food culture is changing. We're becoming more and more international, and like meatballs, Swedish meatballs is still the most Swedish dish you can imagine. And IKEA has that pretty much every day. You can always depend on IKEA, I guess.
what makes meatball Swedish though?
Sorry?
What makes a meatball Swedish then?
I'm not sure. When I think about like Swedish food or meatballs, I think about my grandmother, because going back to our family Sunday dinners, growing up, going to school, being, yeah, like 10 years old, my grandparents used to pick me and my brother up every Tuesday. They live in a suburb 10 minutes outside. So every Tuesday they picked us up. We went to their place, we hung out, and we had dinner at their place because my dad used to work out there as well. And then we got back in. So we had a 1 week, a day a week with my grandparents as well. And I think that goes hand in hand with my mother's family dinners as well. The feeling of keeping the family together.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's part of the maternal instinct, I guess. It's just
Yeah.
that's extremely important for mothers. So you grew up, and then so you went to college. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Swedish equivalent, the Swedish version of that, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is called what?
Um, well, you have a school that you have to do, right? And I just did what I had to. I never right away studied. I never continued my studies. So basically, I did, I don't know what you guys call it, but I did the ground formal school. And then when you're 13, 14, you get to decide what kind of school you want to go to. And actually here I chose a journalism program. It was this 3 year education that you have to do, but you're able to choose where you want to go, right? And I chose the journalism side of things, the media side of things. And I was probably 14, 15. And starting at this school, I was excited going into journalism because I was curious about that already back then. But we had the rooms like all the way back in the school because this school is huge. It looks like a castle. It's very old. And we were all the way in the back, and I didn't know anyone in my class. They were all new people because this school blends people from all the suburbs and everywhere. And all my friends went to like a school line that's very basic. It's very wide, and you can do whatever you want after that. And I started the journalism thing, and I did 1 or 2 days, and I was so sad. I didn't know anybody in that class. And all I could hear about was my friends, how much fun they had. So day 3, I actually ended up changing their program to the program that they went. So I could be with them, and I could study, and I could also do more English for that line of education over there. But looking back, I mean, as much as I love journalism now, those 3 years is where I grounded my friendships that I have right now. That's where I made my 3 absolute best friends that I still have as best friends right now.
That actually says a lot in this day and age, where after high school and after college, you tend to lose touch with people very, very quickly. Even when you leave a job, you always say, "I'll miss you. I'll come visit." No, you
Yeah, I
won't.
know. But with school, it's good because then you actually interact with people whether you want to or not. You don't have to make a choice to interact. But after school, you're actually left with a choice. Like you decide who you want to interact with. But I'm proud and very fortunate to have 3 of the absolute best friends that I could ever imagine. I talk to them almost every day on WhatsApp. We used to do like a guys trip every year. I think last year we did Vegas for 7, 8, 9 days. We've done like Warsaw, we've done London, we've done Budapest. Try to do a thing a year, but these guys have kids. I'm about to have a kid as well, so everything changes. Plus, I'm in Australia, but it's very important to take time to actually take time to communicate with your friends, and like for me and for them as well.
Yeah. And you were mentioning traveling. Throughout your years of talking with people, you've been extremely fortunate to, in essence, travel the world.
I have been, yeah.
Is is there one particular, let's call it like an impromptu trip that either you yourself or you and your friends went on that as a visitor changed you as a person?
Well, you know what I've realized over time is that it's actually not the destination that you go to. It's actually, this might sound like a cliche, but it's actually who you do it with. I had amazing trips in not so amazing environments, and I've had not so amazing trips in what should have been an amazing environment. But it's about the state of mind you're in and also about the people that you travel with. But for me, I think my mother has had a huge love for New York. So she convinced me and my brother to go to New York. I think we've done 3 trips to New York by now. But the first time we went to New York, I think it was my mom's dream, but I wanted to see it as well. And my brother wanted to see it as well. We went to New York in February, like maybe 5, 6 years ago. It was absolutely freezing. The New York cold is nothing like Sweden, nothing like I've ever felt in my life before. But I had an amazing time seeing New York together with my mom and my brother. Like New York for me, growing up in Sweden again, like the movies, fashion, everything is directed towards the US. And New York is like a center point, like a melting pot for everything. So getting to see New York, walk around the streets of New York, really made me feel like I was in the middle of the world right there and then. Yeah.
And have these memories, and there something could have happened 5 years ago, 20 years ago, but there's always little bits and pieces that stick out from certain times in your life. Is there any particular moment from that trip that just, when you think of New York, that memory comes back into mind? Walking down a street, looking in a window, going to a show.
Well, the hotel was it was very it was right across Madison Square Garden, but it was absolutely freezing. But again, like growing up with school and learning English, we did like English assignments on sites in the UK, Big Ben. We wrote like, you write something and then you read it up to the class about the history of Big Ben or something like that. But for me, I was always fascinated by the US. The UK is great. I love the UK as well, but the US was always the big thing for me, right? But there is a trip that actually, I think, changed me a little bit before New York, prior to New York. This is actually something that very few people know about me, but I'm a collector. I used to be a collector. And when I was 11, 12, I started collecting hockey cards, like everyone else, right? The difference between me and other people was that I actually never stopped. So I think I collected until I was like 20 maybe. And growing older, having more money, I started to collect like the early Gretzky cards from '79. I got some signed Gretzky stuff, and I was really fascinated by that. But I think that came from me being fascinated for the US as well, or Canada. And when I was 16 or 17, I got in touch with this guy through eBay, from Atlanta, right? And he actually married a Swedish woman. So he was living in Atlanta with his Swedish wife. I think I bought something from him off eBay or something. We started talking, and he went to Sweden every summer. Actually, we maybe started talking when I was 15. But so the upcoming summer, I took my family. We went to Stockholm, the capital, and we met him. He brought an American flag for me. He brought some Atlanta Thrashers hockey stuff. And yeah, it was just really cool for me to interact with this guy, right? About the US and seeing the world through his eyes. And then next summer they came to my city and my family invited his family. And yeah, and then when I was 17, I flew to Atlanta on my own to visit him for 2 weeks. And I got to see Atlanta. I got to see the Coca-Cola factory museum. I got to see NHL hockey games. We did a road trip to Nashville. I got to see Colorado Avalanche. I got to see, and I think that really changed me.
You see the Predators play?
Yes, I did see the Predators play Colorado Avalanche, but I was a bit sad because Peter Forsberg was supposed to play in Colorado at the time, but he wasn't on the ice for that game. But just seeing it and just but to be honest, this might sound strange, but I was more of a collector than I was a hockey geek, kind of. I loved the collecting aspect of everything. That's also actually how I met one of my best friends. We used to hang out outside the hockey arena in Jönköping getting autographs. Um, when we were 15, when I was when I changed from the media line to this other line, I met him and we got autographs and he took photos and we actually traveled to Stockholm. We watched Pittsburgh play when they did this. They do like an international game or something. We saw Maple Leafs and yeah, I was a huge collector. But I'm also very proud to say that now with moving to Australia and everything, I have actually sold everything. Uh, I used to spend so much time, collecting and just like putting so much value into these things that I got, the autographs that I got, the early 80, 81 Gretzky autographs. But the only thing better than collecting is actually selling everything and getting rid of that. Clearing out your headspace, clearing out physical stuff. I don't have much stuff right now. I don't have anything left. And I sold it just a couple of months ago, and it's such a good feeling because it's just stuff.
You feel that chapter of your life will always be there, but once you did that and got rid of a part of that past, that mentally puts you in a state of sort of a new beginning, of a new,
No, that's a that's a great way of putting it.
not
Yeah.
necessarily a life, but well, yes, a second life.
Yeah, because I mean, last year in December, I quit my job and I went to Australia. I figured I'd be gone for 2 weeks. That ended up being 3 months. That ended up being 6 months. And I got back home and I had my girlfriend with me. And I kind of looked at, because before I left, I moved into my parents' house because I didn't want an apartment or anything um, to care about. So I just moved all my stuff in. I lived on the upper floor, which works really good. Surprisingly enough, I'm 35, living at home at that time, but it worked really well. And coming back from Australia from 3 months and then 6 months in Australia, looking at these things, like I used to save all my boarding passes, the airplane boarding passes. I used to save all my wristbands from events. I used to save posters. I used to have signed music posters. I looked at that stuff and yeah, I just got rid of it. I just it was such a good. You think I'd be sad getting rid of it, but it was such a good feeling. I still have my vinyl collection left. I have about 300-400 vinyls. Most of them are signed from artists that I've met, artists that I've interviewed. I don't think I'll ever get rid of my vinyl collection, but that's the one of the few things that I have left.
Yeah. So, sort of let's go back to the hockey just real quick. Did you prefer Gretzky as an Oiler or as a King?
Uh, well, even when I started collecting when I was 12, 13, I was always fascinated by the 80s cards. All the kids went for the newest stuff, but I always looked back at like my favorite player, Boris Solming. And I
Really?
always looked at his early 74, 75 rookie card. I always looked at his 80s cards and stuff like that. And absolutely, I'd say I prefer Gretzky as an Oiler, but then again, I never saw him play as an Oiler. For me, it was a collecting thing. And I loved the look of his rookie card, both the Canadian and the American version. And I don't know, it was a part of my life that I went through, and now I've just changed, kind of.
Yeah. Well, so for all you hockey fans out there, it was that was a great story. For those of you who know nothing about hockey, you can start play again. So yeah, you had talked about just doing what so many people dream of doing. Victor, is just saying, "Screw it! I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to pick up. I'm going to sell all of my stuff, and I'm just going to start new." And you did that, man. And and you're living in an absolutely fantastic part of the world. But Do you think that Australia is one of those places that you might want to call home?
Yeah, absolutely. Because first of all, I did change my life by coming here, but I didn't do it out of the blue. I did it because I met this amazing, amazing woman, right? I'd say she changed my life. And then I kind of changed because she opened up my my views of everything, and she's just incredible, you know? And I think that's, well, obviously she is the reason why I came to Australia as well. As much as I love Australia, like, she is why I'm here. But being here and seeing the Australian life, the culture, the people, I'm very surprised of how much at home I feel here. But again, going back to that, that's because I have her. Because I found somebody that felt more like home than my real, like, physical Swedish home, right? I feel more at home being with her anywhere than being at home in Jönköping. As much as I miss my family and my friends, don't get me wrong, I miss them. I talk to them every day, but this is where I feel like home. Australia as a country, as a society, is absolutely amazing because it's a blend of people from all over the world. And being here makes me feel like everything is possible. People are working with all kinds of stuff. Everyone is very open. Everyone is very welcoming. And I just really, really feel at home here. I'm just now getting comfortable with driving on the on the wrong side compared to Sweden. It's taking me surprisingly long, but no, I feel really good here. With that said, I think I'm gonna be very comfortable, and I'm probably gonna call Australia home, but Sweden will always be my home. I am Swedish. I will always have my Swedish family, my Swedish heritage, and all that stuff. But no, Australia is absolutely fantastic, and I think I will be able to call Australia home as well as Sweden.
Very good. So, what, if you don't mind me asking, what are some of the things about you that your girlfriend has changed?
Well, she's she motivates me. Um, she motivates me into becoming better, and we yeah, like, I want to be better for her as well. But also coming back to Sweden, we spent 3 months in Sweden, and I showed her all the stuff that I had, and she kind of made me realize that this stuff is actually not that important. What's important is that I'm with her, that I'm happy, that we're happy together, and I could easily get rid of this stuff. Some stuff I threw away, some stuff I sold, but just get rid of it so I can have more focus on what I'm doing, more focus on what actually matters. But I think honestly, she's making me a better person, and I want to be a better person for her, with her, in general too.
Yeah, and is you're wanting to start a family one of the reasons you moved there with her, or was this just happenstance?
Well, to be honest with you, um, I've actually never dreamt about having kids. You know, I've had friends who are like, "Oh, I want to have children like soon," but they've been single at the time, or they just dream about having kids. For me, thinking about having kids is that first I need to meet somebody who I want to have kids with. After that, kids will come natural, right? And before I met Amanda, I actually never really had the dream of having kids, and I was okay with whatever happening. I never had this urge or this dream to have kids. But with her, it's the most natural thing in the world. I mean, it's scary to have kids because you don't actually know what's going to happen. It's scary because it changes everything. Sorry. It changes everything. But I feel that we're super strong together. Uh, Nothing is impossible for us. She's an amazing woman, and she makes me feel better as well. Um, we did find out that she was pregnant once we got back to Australia and talked about it. And we're both very fortunate because we both come from really good countries like Sweden and Australia. They're well accepted countries in the world. They have good healthcare, infrastructure, everything like that. But we discussed it, and she was more comfortable, obviously, with the healthcare system in Australia, and she has her family here. So I was actually very, very happy to figure out that we're gonna be here. So we're working on the visa stuff, and we're sending in all the paperwork that you need to do, and I'm just very, very excited to be part of the Australian culture, to be with my girlfriend, to hang out with her family, and to become a father.
Yeah, it's and so what excites yet scares the living hell out of you about becoming a dad?
Um, well, I don't know. It's my best friend has 3 kids, and I've kind of seen him as a father, and he's been absolutely amazing as a father, never complaining and just putting the work in, doing whatever it takes. I followed my brother up close when he had his first baby, first son, um, and I've just seen how amazing he is with his son, and I can see they're tired. Being a parent is very tiresome, like it drains you, but they just keep pushing, and they do so much, and they give so much to their kids, and that's what I'm hoping that I'll be as well, you know? Like I know my whole world as I know it is going to change, but I'm not on my own. I have my partner, my girlfriend with me. We're going to do it together. Um, and I don't think I'm fully aware of what it's going to be like to have a kid yet. Um, we have we set the room up here. We got a baby cot. We have a baby like a carpet, like a rug. We have a baby changer that we're actually sanding down and painting to use in the baby room. We recently went to this huge baby expo in Sydney, and we ordered a pram. So it's a good feeling to buy things that we're gonna need. But I actually don't know what it means to become a father.
Any names yet?
Yes, we do actually have a couple of names. It's I'm not sure I can give it away here now, but we know that it's a boy. We know that we're
Okay,
having a son.
fair enough. We'll leave it at that then, because I don't want to mean it to kill you.
Well, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna name him. His middle names are gonna be from Amanda's father and my father, and then we're working on a first name. But it's not. It might be set in stone or it might not be. But they always say like you should have kids. You should have names in mind. But once you look at your kid, you can actually see what he looks like or what name would fit him. And I've grown up with that as well because I was supposed to have my brother's name from my parents' side, um, but every time on my birthday, my mom tells me the story of when I was born. And as I've been getting older, it's a bit more and more emotional because I wasn't um, I wasn't really alive when I was born, and my mom had to live with the fact that they took me and they ran off with me right away, and she couldn't see me for hours and hours. There was a doctor in there in a leather jacket who just came off his bike and ran in and took care of the delivery, and my mom couldn't see me for what felt like forever for her. So every time she tells me the story, she gets super emotional. And I was supposed to be called Christopher, which is my brother's name. But as I was victorious over, fighting and doing all that, they figured that Victor would be a better name for me. And every birthday she tells me the story and she gets emotional. And now becoming older, I get emotional as well. Even thinking about my own son as well, I kind of a little bit realize what she went through and how much that meant to her.
Yeah. So when your son does arrive into the world, hopefully healthy with 10 fingers, 10 toes, and just hopefully just a wonderful bouncing baby boy, if if there is one thing that you can provide him that wasn't provided for you, what do you think that would be?
That wasn't provided for me. That's tricky. Maybe a little bit more, because like I said before, like my parents or my mom convinced me that nothing is impossible, right? So I'm definitely gonna put that on my kid. I'm gonna show him that nothing is actually impossible. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. Maybe a little bit more um, like internationalism, maybe, because when I grew up, I was very focused on Sweden. Well, my family was very focused on Sweden. They didn't travel too much. I remember my parents had friends that traveled, and every time they went anywhere, I wanted a newspaper from that place. I wanted a coin from that country that they went to. I remember having like Chinese newspapers. I couldn't read them, but I went through them, and they were like so fascinating. So I think naturally, with me being from Sweden and my partner being from Australia, or actually from Lebanon, but living in Australia, we will bring in some more internationalism and a bit more traveling as well. I think that would be it.
Okay. Well, that was an amazing story, and I just want to thank you for sharing that. Um, what I would like to do now, um, as we conclude, I'm going to ask you some questions,
Yeah.
and these are sort of rapid fire, one answer, short answer questions, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Okay. Um, what do you wish other people understood about you?
Um, oh, shoot. That everything isn't always like I'm in a great place right now. I'm probably in a great, like, I've never been in such a good place right now. But I kind of wish that people just didn't think everything was good just because I smile. Um, I'm blessed with a decent smile, I guess you could say, but my mom and my grandmother can see in my eyes if it's a genuine smile. But as long as I smile, people just assume that everything is perfectly fine. I guess that's on my part too, but I guess that's it.
Okay. What's the strangest question anyone has ever asked you?
Um, I think going into, I spent 4 or 5 years working in a hotel reception, and people had a lot of weird. Every now and then, there were some strange requests, I guess you could say, but nothing too crazy that comes to mind like that. It's a good question though. Let me think.
You've got me intrigued now.
Yeah, well, not as crazy as you think listening to this, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's a really really good question.
Okay,
Um,
fair enough. How do you stop a how do you stop a compulsive
Sorry, how do you stop a compulsive?
talker?
That's tricky as an interviewer, I guess I would say too, because
Yeah,
I don't. You know what? I don't think I would, depending on
really.
how crazy it would go. But um, when I'm just thinking interview wise right now. I mean,
That's the point
I,
of the. I'm going to go deeper into this. Why?
because I think people have. I want people to talk from their own everything. I don't want to conduct them. I don't want to tell them to do this or that. Maybe I should though, because nobody wants an answer that's that big for a question that's that small. But it's their answer. It's how they are as people. And I think if I was going to do an interview with somebody who talks a lot, which I might have done as well, I think I'd still keep it just the way it is because that's how it is. Because you can't just chop it up because I don't think that's fair. And some of my interviews tend to be a little bit longer, but I mean, that's how I like to do them. I like to capture the whole thing, not just chop it up.
Yeah, I'll just say very well said on that one. Uh, If empathy is figuring out what the other person's point of view is there anyone for whom you just can't feel empathy?
I think I can feel a little bit empathy for everyone, but sometimes people keep doing the same mistakes. They're not learning from what they should have learned from. And I think people should take better care of themselves. They shouldn't put themselves in situations that can go bad over and over again. I'll still have empathy for them feeling sad about it, but I might not have the fifth time or the fourth time. Might not have as much understanding why they did it. But yeah, I just think people should take better care of themselves and not do things that can burn them or that can hurt them.
Okay, fair enough. How do you like to deliver bad news? In person, by phone, or by carrier pigeon?
You know what? I just walk up to people and I just tell them straight away. The few times I've ever done that, like it's just walk up and just say whatever has happened or whatever it is, and just take it from there. Going back to my upbringing, actually, my mom, because growing up, I had a brother that was 2 years younger than me, so we got up to some stuff as you do as a kid, right? But my mom taught me and my brother that whatever happens, no matter what you do, as long as you come home and tell us what happened, we can fix it. If you don't tell us, we cannot fix it. We don't know what to do. But if you do anything, whatever happens, just come home and we'll fix it. We'll take care of it. We'll take it from there. And that's how I look at it as well. Like, bad news is bad news. That's facts. This is what's happened. Break the news, and then take it from there.
That's amazing because my dad was the same way, so I can definitely relate to that.
Yeah.
And last one, what, if anything, would make you end a friendship?
Uh, I think like growing up, right? Or in life, you have your core friends, and then you have other people around you that might change a little bit. I've had friendships change where we don't share the same values of other people, of people of different backgrounds. I need my core friends, I need my friends in general to share the same kind of open view that everybody is worth just as much. And I've actually had fallouts with friends who hasn't shared that view with me. And if you don't have that core value, it just doesn't work. It's hard for me because for me it's like maybe coming from my dad as well. Like everyone is worth exactly the same, and you can't judge people because of their skin, because of their background, because of their religion. But if my friends end up doing that, it's hard for me to. I mean, it might sound harsh, but it's hard for me to keep that friendship if we don't even share that core belief.
Yeah. Well, Victor, I just want to thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
I would love to do this again sometime. And thank you, Victor.
Thank you so much.
And cut.